Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben, your go-to podcast for all things green and growing. I'm Ben, your allotment guide, and here to help you cultivate your garden and your passion for plants. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just starting out, this podcast is for you. Each episode will dig into tips, tricks and techniques to make your garden and allotment thrive. From planting, sowing and growing, we will share all the tips and advice. We will also have regular episodes talking about what we have been up to on the allotment. So sit back, grab a brew and enjoy today's episode. Hey everyone and welcome back to Gardening with Ben for another brand new episode today. I hope you're all well. I hope you all enjoyed yesterday's episode. Like I said, I'm going to get a few episodes recorded so that you've got quite a few to listen to as they drop on a daily basis, as I know people like to listen to them. And someone once said to me, they said, why don't you create longer episodes? And sometimes I find it too hard to find stuff to talk about too much, really, because I just love these short little episodes, and I'm sure people prefer the short little episodes. Let me know if you would like longer episodes or not, as I would like feedback on my podcasts. I've had a lot of good feedback back about the quality of the sound. It sounds so much better for you all, and you're enjoying the better quality. And obviously the investment that I put into this microphone, £145. So it's not a cheap microphone, it's a very good one. But like I say, everything that I get from these podcasts, I put back into sharing stuff with you and the tips and advice. And I do appreciate you all. And thank you for my gardening journey. And as I say, over the next few podcasts and episodes, I'm going to be sharing tips and advice on getting started on an allotment, tips, just general tips and advice, and also tips and advice on what I do to try and get better vegetables and get a better quality of vegetable. So today we're going to be talking about growing pumpkins. Yes, pumpkins. Everybody loves to see how big they can grow a pumpkin. And not last year, but the year before, I managed to grow quite a big pumpkin myself and get quite a heavy one. It was that big that I took it to my local pub where I do my quiz night, and they made pumpkin soup for everybody. And it was absolutely delicious. Like I say, a lot of the stuff that I grow sometimes, I give it away and share it out with other people, as I don't get to eat it all myself. Rather than it go to waste, I'd like other people to enjoy it. So we got this massive pumpkin the other year, and I'm hoping to try and get another big one this year. And we are going to give it a good go. And the way that you get a good sized pumpkin is that obviously they need the pollination for the pollination of the flower to get the pumpkin growing in the first place. But it's obviously down to keep feeding them on a regular basis. I'll feed mine once, twice a week by giving it some plant food or tomerite, as obviously the pumpkin needs the food to help make it grow. And obviously it needs its water as well. But you've got to be careful with watering pumpkins, as you can cause base rot on the stalk. So sometimes the best thing to do is stick a plant pot at the side of it in the ground and water into the plant pot. That way it waters down into the roots rather than watering the stem, where it can cause the rotting of the stem. And then if the stem rots off, then you've lost the full plant, which you don't want whatsoever. You need to protect it at all costs and get it good and growing. Now, another thing is that sometimes if you wanted a big pumpkin, it's best not to grow many pumpkins on the plant, because if there's like 4 or 5 pumpkins on the plant doesn't know which one to put all the effort into. So you'll just get like general smallish sized pumpkins off them. Whereas if you're wanting a big one, maximum pumpkins on the plant is about 2, at least 2 or 3. And then you will get a good sized pumpkin on it. Obviously, I've been saying about feeding the pumpkin. I'm feeding it some produce called Boost by Westland. I've just created a video on that. It should be on my YouTube either today or in a couple of days. So stay tuned for that, and I'll show you what I've made and how I look after my pumpkins. I've also put some chicken pellets around him as well, as chicken pellets break down over a few months. They'll last about 3 months. So I'll put them down a couple of times up until they're ripe. And you've got to be careful with like chicken pellets, because if you get them on the leaves, they'll burn the leaves and you'll end up burning the plant. So you need to make sure they're around the base of the plant, not too close to the stem. As I say, you don't want to burn the stem. So just place them around the bottom, and when it rains, it will water them and feed them at the same time. So that's another good way to keep them fed and growing. Another good tip, what I did as well last year, is that as pumpkins grow, they'll end up sitting on the soil, and you don't want that. You want the pumpkins to be sat on something, because if they sat on the soil, they could get wet, they could get damp, they could rot, and that is the last thing that you want to happen. So what I do is I've got some old roof tiles, the pieces of slate, and I just rest the pumpkin on the slate so that it's not touching the soil. That way it'll stop it, not let it rot, and you will get a good pumpkin, and it just lifts it off the ground a bit better. So then hopefully it protects it and you'll get a beautiful pumpkin. Obviously, pumpkins are usually ready around the end of October, the beginning of November, and you don't want to leave them on the plant when the frost is due. If the frost is due, it would cause the pumpkin to either rot or explode, and that is the last thing you want. So make sure you keep an eye on them temperatures as well. Obviously, we're safe around now because we're not going to get frost now, hopefully, or snow. But yeah, stay checking of those temperatures towards the end of October, November, as you don't want them to get frost and go mushy. So when it's about time, cut them off, pick them off, store them in a cool place, not a hot place, a cool place, as again, it can cause them to rot if it's hot. So store them somewhere safe. So that is our tips for growing pumpkins. Make sure you feed them on a regular basis. I'll give them food twice a week. Also put some chicken pellets around the base to give them a feed over a time and to improve the soil, and look after them. Give them your full attention. Keep an eye on them. Talk to them. Talk to your plants. Say, come on, pumpkin, grow big. You must think I'm mad, but it does work. Trust me. So, like I said, I've got a YouTube video coming out on my pumpkins and showing you how I've done my pumpkins. So stay tuned for that. If you're not following me on YouTube, do give me a follow. There's lots of new videos coming out at the moment, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I'll start sharing lots of photos of my pumpkins on my Instagram as well, so that you can stay tuned and see how big we can actually grow a pumpkin this year. Hopefully we'll get a whopper, fingers crossed, and hopefully I'll be sharing it with my local pub again so they can make me some delicious soup. So stay tuned for that. So until next time's episode, remember, keep smiling, keep shining, and keep gardening with Ben, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Gardening with Ben. I hope you have found some useful tips and inspiration for your own gardening and allotment journey. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a new episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love for you to leave a review and share the podcast with fellow gardening enthusiasts. Your support helps us grow this community and continue bringing you great content. You can also follow us on social media on every platform called Gardening with Ben for daily gardening tips and updates. Happy gardening, and until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep shining, and keep gardening with